I've recently been learning about capitalism and the various different views on it from different historians from the OER Big History Project. I recently read an article about the capitalism subject and learned about three different viewpoints from three people. Smith, Karl Marx, and Keynes. Those are all three economists in the 19th century era who studied the field of economy and had three different views about capitalism itself. Marx in particular, this was Karl Marx from the 1800s, he was actually very much against the capitalism idea itself. He believed that businesses should not be in complete control for their own wealth and interests, and that the interests of private actors should not control how much wealth they owned. So essentially, Marx was basically very opposed to the subject of capitalism. He was against it entirely and believed that it exploited workers and squeezed every possible inch of work out of them, basically exploiting them and not actually doing anything good for the economy. So Marx was very extreme in that aspect. That's why Marxism is kind of considered to be very anti-capitalist. Now, we also have the other two. So Smith, a second historian, was also in that era and believed that the government should play not as much a role in the economy as maybe the other one, Keynes, did. So Smith believed that the government should only manage how people spend money, not what the businesses do themselves to actually manage that wealth. So he had a little bit of a different viewpoint on the situation. And Keynes had a completely different isolated viewpoint, where he believed that overall capitalist economies, even though they might not be so good for workers, were much better at getting things done and producing new innovations than communist economies, just because of the nature of capitalist economies and how they incentivize profit and growth. Whereas communist economies didn't provide any benefit to businesses to innovate, so businesses just said, why should we bother innovating? We're not going to get any profit out of it. So that's why capitalist economies are in general better at innovating than communist economies, and that's what Keynes believed as well. And there's actually a quote from Joe Biden that relates to this subject quite closely, and the quote says that capitalism without competition isn't capitalism, it's exploitation. So basically what this quote means is it's saying that competition is a general aspect, a central part of capitalism itself. And if you take that part out, you're not going to have capitalism anymore. Because without competition, all you have is private companies taking in money and exploiting the workers because they aren't really competing with any other private firms. They're only competing with themselves to earn more and more money. And by doing that, they're just going to squeeze all the money out of the workers, essentially exploiting them. So that's what that quote means from Joe Biden. And this was a short video on capitalism and the various viewpoints, as I've recently been reading from the OER Big History Project.